So just going to mention something before we go on. This is not something that I would ever grade you down for, but the order we write things in math is decreasing order in terms of biggest exponents of variables first, and then decreasing in order. So in other words, we would always write the x squared first, then the x, which is really an x to the 1 power, and then plus the number, which because x to the 0 is equal to 1, the number really has an x to the 0 power there. So you absolutely would never get marked down on a test. However, in the book, as you go forward in math classes, we always write the biggest exponents first and then decreasing in order. If things have the same number of exponents, for example, we have 15y plus 3 plus 12x. Well, y is to the 1 power and x is to the 1 power. Our second rule to go by is alphabetical. So that's why we'll always write in order, so the a's first, b's second, c's third, or in this case, we would say these tie for the highest exponent, but x comes before y. So we would rewrite this 12x plus 15y plus 3. Again, not something I would ever mark you down for, but just that's the common way we write it, so everybody writes it the same way, and we get really used to it. So I would never on a test, as I'm factoring things, I would never write something as 3 plus x. I would always write it as x plus 3, and that's just helpful for a lot of reasons. The main one that I can think of going forward is when you get something like 3 minus x, you might make mistakes in terms of factoring, whereas if you see this as negative x plus 3, then it's just for reasons in the future. You'll say, oh, that's a whole lot easier, the lead coefficient's a negative, I need to factor out the -1, and it's just helpful. So just wanted to mention that because I saw a couple of people leaving answers like this, 3 plus x, which absolutely is not wrong, would never get marked down points, but it may or may not lead to a possible mistake in the future. May. All right, so 1.7, multiplication and division of real numbers. We're going to talk about the golden rule in math, which it's the only one I can think of that is never broken. Most everything else I say always has an asterisk, and I'll say that often. Like even when I said, x to 0 is 1, you say anything to the 0 power is 1. With a little asterisk, the square root of this is always with an asterisk, right? There's always these loopholes in math, which are really interesting to talk about. There's whole fields of studying those loopholes. So the golden rule is you cannot divide by 0. Absolutely cannot divide by 0. It's not defined. It's a nonsensical question. So, when you get to calculus, I assume everybody's going to calculus because it's an awesome class. Mathematics is fun. It's just a hobby, playing basketball. It's just something to do in your spare time. So calculus is super cool, super interesting, but you can study what happens as you get infinitely close to 0, and wild things happen. It can go in any direction you want. There can be little holes, there can be asymptotes. So really cool to study what happens as you almost divide by 0. But you can't actually ever divide by 0. That's a big golden rule. So 2 examples are 0 divided by 8 and 8 divided by 0. Okay? 0 divided by 8, that's easy. That's 0. 8 divided by 0, nonsensical question, you would say undefined, breaks the rules of mathematics. Okay. I was telling my classes where I saw a picture on the internet, one of those motivational posters things. It showed a lake with a hole in it that was draining. It's pretty apocalyptic to look at, kind of scary. I'm sure it was just near a dam, and so they had a drainage pipe that went into the dam where things would go in. But either way, it was funny. It was looked like there was a black hole in the middle of this lake, and it said you divided by 0, didn't you? It's my math sense of humor was oh, classic, right? So 8 divided by 0, this is really easy. The way I think of it as, like kind of as a meaning is, I have $0 and I'm super generous, I'm gonna share it with everyone. Right? How much does everyone get to share with everyone? Everybody gets $0, right? I can share my $0 with everybody I want to, right? I literally have $0 in my pocket. I will split it equally amongst all of you, and we can all share in my wealth, right? We all get $0. Right? Another way to think about it is how many times would we have to multiply, how many times do we have to multiply 8 by to get to 0, or how many times can 8 fit into 0? However you look at it, yeah, we'd multiply this by 0 to get this, or how many 8s would fit inside 0? Exactly no 8s would fit inside 0, so the answer is 0. So like, many different ways to look at this, but that's an easy problem. We can take no pizza and share it equally amongst the class. Okay? 8 divided by 0 is, makes a lot less sense. I'm going to write the possible meanings over here of 8 divided by 0. And then I'll tell you something somebody in the morning class said that was helpful. So possible meanings of 8 divided by 0. I'm going to split $8 amongst 0 people. Whoops. Yeah. How much does each non-existent person get? But I mean, there's no person to even get money, right? You didn't even split it to anybody. Nobody gets anything, right? That's a nonsensical question to say how much does somebody get because there was nobody there to get anything, right? You didn't split it up. There isn't even a single person to split it, right? Another way to think about it is how many times can I fit the number in until it's full? So for example, let's say 15 divided by 3 is equal to 5, because if I had a glass that was 15 big, I could fit in a 3, a 3, a 3, a 3, and another 3, and that would fill up the glass of 15. I could fit it in 5 times, right? Whereas if I think of 8 divided by 0, and I've got a glass 8 big, and I put a bunch of zeros in, right? I can keep adding as many zeros as I want, and it never fills up. An infinite amount of times, I can keep adding and adding and adding and adding. And how many zeros does it take to fill up 8? Infinity. Doesn't make sense, right? I mean, you would never get an answer. So it does not work. It's a golden rule of math. You cannot divide by 0. So one of these super easy, one of these not. This comes up often, especially as we go into chapter 2 and chapter 3, where we're going to be dealing with linear equations and slopes. A slope of 0 is really easy. A slope of 0 means go up 0, go right however many you want. So it's a horizontal line. An undefined slope means go up 8 and right 0 is a vertical line. So you experience this quite often, and it's important to understand this difference. Somebody in my last class said, O over K is okay, N over O, no. So, okay and no. That was the way she remembered it. I was like, oh, cool. I love learning new ways. Okay. I had to bring that up because that's definitely going to show up in 1.7. It's definitely going to show up. I should say definitely. Might / probably show up on a test. Alright. So, the one real rule though, other than that unbreakable rule, is just regarding negatives. Same thing I said for 1, 5, and 1, 6. So, if you multiply, divide, they're the same operations, so they follow the same rules. Okay? If you multiply, divide, two numbers with the same sign, the result will be positive. So in other words, 2 times 4 is positive 8. Negative 3 times negative 5 is equal to positive 15. Okay, so as long as they have the same sign, the result's going to be positive. Another way I think about this is negative means opposite, and the word for multiplication is of. So the opposite of a negative is a positive. So the opposite of a negative is a positive, is the way I think about it. You could maybe remember the sentence that's 2 negatives make a positive, but that's terrible to remember because then you use it out of context. So a sentence like that is great in one application, but without being tied to anything and just free floating, like cross cancel, cross multiplication, just gets misused in so many ways. So an example of this is negative 2 plus negative 7. 2 negatives do not make a positive, right? Negative plus negative means whole lots of negatives. Okay, so don't remember just 2 negatives makes positive, because free floating sentences like that get reused in wrong places. Okay? 2 things with the same sign, whether multiplied or divided together, give you a positive, and then on the other side, 2 things with opposite signs result in a negative. Okay, and that's where we'll leave it for 1.7. Quick examples. If you multiply 2 things with different signs, the result's negative. If you divide 2 things with different signs, the result's negative. So it's all about same signs or different signs, not 2 negatives make a positive. And that's all the notes I'm going to give you today.